desire to convert what we were doing into a product as a drone actually was triggered by 2611. But when 2611 happened, you saw that naval helicopters are trying to look into the hotel floors. We were like, maybe drones would have been a better choice if that tech was available.
Did any of your products see action during Operation Sindoor?
From whatever we have seen of the footage that our end customers have put out there, we do see a lot of representations of our technology as a part of what was deployed.
Hello everyone, welcome to Mic'd Up With. This is season 1, and in this season I bring you up close and personal with the men and women who are making Atmanirbhar Bharat a reality in defense. My today's guest doesn't really need an introduction. His company has been in business since 2007. 2 years back they became a publicly listed company and commanding a market valuation, a market capitalization of 2,000 crore plus, depending on how the stock markets move on a given day. His products are used by the Indian Armed Forces. Ankit is here sharing his perspective on defense tech, the future of UAV, the future of surveillance in general. Thank you so much, Ankit, for joining in, and welcome to the podcast.
It's a pleasure to be here, Adit.
How's the Bangalore traffic treating you so far?
Usual, which means I'm delayed pretty much everywhere.
That's right. So Ankit Mehta is the CEO and co-founder of ideaForge. So just to set things in motion, Ankit, 20 years is a very long time. When you started off this journey in 2005, I'm pretty sure there were a lot of other sectors that were kind of ripe for disruption. Why UAVs? Why drones? Why defense in the first place?
It's a very interesting question because as a business, we got registered in 2007, but we did not start with drones as the core business of what we wanted to do. We actually started off with building these hand crank chargers for portable electronics so that people could survive their mobile phones off grid in places where electricity was not very, you can say, regular. That was the journey we began with, and the reason why we began the journey there was because as a student we used to do a lot of projects, and many of those projects were actually funded by our alma mater, and I had filed a patent on a unique energy device at that time, and that patent we thought would be a good place to start the business with, and that's why the name ideaForge. But we were doing a lot of mobile robotics as a part of our fun activity, either as a participant in a competition or some of our original ideas. And that activity, one of the activities I began with one of my co-founders, Rahul, was he came up to me and he said, I want to make a hovercraft and float it in the Powai Lake. So this is 2004 time frame. And I also got excited, that seems like a very nice idea, let's try and build it. And after building those few prototypes of hovercrafts, we realized we want to build something more innovative. And that's when in 2004, as a student project, we built this quadcopter drone, which had 4 rotors, as an innovative helicopter. So that's how the journey began of doing unmanned aerial vehicles. But the business originally began wanting to do those chargers, but we were using the unmanned technology domain as a means of our survival.
I see.
So that slowly in 2008, after the 2611 attack, we felt like we should take all of the work that we have done in this space and create a product for our forces. And that's when in 2009 we launched our first quadcopter drone. And from 2010 onwards, we've been serving our forces using this technology.
So I was meaning to ask you, was the trigger point actually 2611?
So as a drone technology developer, we've been doing this for a while. In fact, in 2007, we built the first autopilot. Just to sort of juxtapose that with the timeline, in 2009, is when the first open source autopilot was announced globally.
I see.
So our technology predates that time frame. So we had to build everything from grounds up. But we were doing this more as a project. And at that time, in 2008, we helped IIT Bombay secure top honors alongside MIT US in a competition. And that's when we got noticed by the labs in the country, the defense and the civil research labs.
Right.
And they wanted to get our autopilot so that they could take a lot of work that they were doing on small drones at that time to autonomy. And that's when we delivered the world's smallest and lightest autopilot to them in 2008-9 timeframe. So that's how the journey began. But the desire to convert what we were doing into a product as a drone actually was triggered by 2611, because while we had made a lot of prototypes earlier, one of those prototypes was also featured in the movie Three Idiots.
Yeah.
But we were not thinking of it as a product. But when 2611 happened, you saw that naval helicopters are trying to look into the hotel floors. We were like, maybe drones would have been a better choice if that tech was available.
Absolutely.
And motivated by that, we decided that we'll take all of this that we were doing and convert it into a product for our forces. And slowly we moved away from wanting to do those autopilots to actually selling the full drone itself.
What are the big categories that you play in? And is Government of India right now your biggest customer?
Government of India is our biggest customer. Within Government of India, defense is a very big customer for us.
Okay.
And the categories that we have conventionally been building for a very long time, and where we believe we have mastery not just at a local level but also at a global scale, we do a very good job in terms of those products, is the category of man-portable drones that can be carried in a largish backpack by a soldier on ground and can be deployed to do last mile ISR activity, which is intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance and targeting activity as well. So that's the category we have mastered. The heaviest product we built in that category was actually less than 10 kgs. In fact, 7 kgs was the heaviest that we had built till about a couple of years back.
I see.
So that's how lightweight but very high performance our platforms were meant to be. In that lightweight, our claim to a lot of merit came from the fact that we were able to deploy them in very high altitudes and very cold environments as well.
Right.
So our technology is designed to be able to operate at down to minus 30 degrees centigrade at a takeoff altitude of 5 to 6,000 meters takeoff. So it's a very rarefied atmosphere, very cold environment, and how do you make a technology deliver meaningful missions even at that environment, in that condition. So that was one part, and of course I am from Rajasthan originally, so I had to make sure that we are able to take care of dust and heat. And since I've lived for a very long time in Mumbai, there was no escaping rains. So we had to build technology that will work in both dusty and heavy raining environments, and make sure that it can survive in saline conditions of near sea environments or marine environments. So that DNA was there, and we have those conditions in our country, and we've kept building for making things be effective in those environments.
Right.
However, over the last couple of years, we have started to build at least 2 large category platforms. One of them we call our tactical drone, which is now called Zolt. It is meant to do a fairly long range and a longer flight time operation with the ability to also carry an additional payload, which can be distributed between specialized heavy sensors or precision payload delivery, depending on what use case you apply it for, but always dual use.
Okay.
And we are also building a largish logistic platform that can operate in very high altitudes, and we are designing it to be able to do not just logistics but eventually medical evacuation type of scenarios in high altitudes, which sort of make it something that can work pretty much anywhere in the country or across the world. So
Got it.
that's how we have been working on various categories.
Talked about the medical use case. I also recently read that your drones are actually being used in jungles to prevent human-elephant kind of conflicts.
Yes.
Right? So it must be very satisfying to see the societal impact of some of your products.
It is absolutely. I think I always tell our teams that the biggest joy in what we do is when we are able to help save a life or prevent a difficult situation, or are able to make sure that the mission or the productivity of the system is delivered in the real world. And the joy of that trumps every other news that you can create, because that's one moment in time where your product has done something that nobody can take away.
Correct.
And that's, I think, very exciting for us. And any real world use of the platform is what we sort of cherish the most in IdeaForge. It's very motivating as a builder.
Absolutely.
To have technology that's useful.
My sense is that going forward, drones might become as ubiquitous as CCTVs.
Yes, they will become a part of the infrastructure. They are no longer a technology that is extraneous to that entire activity.
Right. Okay, just going back in time again, I was telling you off air about one of your recent podcasts where all the founders of the company had come together and enjoyed viewing that banter. But you have 3 other co-founders. All of you have been together for at least 15 plus years. What keeps the founding group together, and how do you resolve disagreements? Because 3 people, 30 different viewpoints, right?
I think as a founding team and very capable team, like each one of my co-founders is a superstar in their own right and in their own way. And that's the reason why you desire to work with them, right? Because you believe that they can make a big difference to what you are wanting to do.
Right.
I think the most important thing that you have to recognize in a co-founder or a partner in that one sense is the desire to do it for the business. The arguments that we have ultimately are not arguments to put my point forward or their point forward, but to do the right thing for the business. And I think any team that can hold the outcome for the business front and center, then over a period of time, even if it takes a little bit more effort, and it does, you end up doing the right thing for the organization, and you appreciate the differences in opinion. And sometimes the opinions are tangentially opposite of what 2 people may think. The third person may suddenly think tangentially opposite. But I look at it as a means of reaching global maxima or minima, rather than looking at it as a burden. I mean, it is a burden on time at times, but it is also what helps you preserve value over the long period of time.
I remember, covering Infosys as a company, and Mr. Narayan Murthy often used to say that the founding team at Infosys is one of the biggest debating societies that he's ever been a part of.
It is, absolutely it is. And that sense of ownership really, makes people hold their ground. Which is sometimes required, because otherwise you will not peel enough layers. And some decisions may go horribly wrong, leading to almost a catastrophic situation.
So disagree and commit, is that how you would look
Absolutely.
at resolution of conflicts?
Yes.
Interesting. Going back to the operational side of things, right now I believe the armed forces are in the process of doing emergency procurement. So a lot has changed, a lot has become amplified after Operation Sindoor.
Yes.
I read somewhere that the lion's share of drones that the Indian armed forces use are from your company. Is that correct?
Again, in the context of Manportable ISR activity, yes, that is true.
Ankit, tell us a little more about Operation Sindoor and whether any of your products were used, and what does the post-Sindoor landscape look like, because we also hear that a lot of emergency procurement is right now happening by the armed forces.
So I think when the Op Sindoor started, it was necessary for us to keep a very tight vigil on our borders, make sure that under the garb of retaliation or whatever, we do not have incursion on the border, and if there is an offensive, we need to know the kind of targets we need to assess and attack or monitor. So our technology, because it was delivered to them originally for sort of this purpose itself, to keep a very tight vigil on our borders, make sure that we are able to also protect our hinterland, and of course it can be leveraged for finding targets that potentially need some action against. And that's exactly what we believe our technology was deployed for, from whatever we could see of the public images that came out of the Operation Sindoor that was posted by various official channels. From whatever we have seen of the footage that our end customers have put out there, we do see a lot of representations of our technology as a part of what was deployed, including some visuals that they had released regarding the actual use or at the time of the event. So yes, that's what our belief is, and rightfully so, because they have reasonably good numbers that they will use it. The war was all about drones, so in that one sense, apart from of course the aerial perspective. As a fallout of Operation Sindoor, I think a lot of impetus has gone towards building resilient capability in the drones that the government is going to procure now. Their mindset towards what mission they would like to deploy the technology for has also evolved. In the first wave of induction of this technology after Galwan, the need for eyes on the border and introduction of kinetic and defensive capabilities against drones happened. This time it's going to accelerate on the kinetic and counter drone side in a big way, while acknowledging and procuring large scale surveillance systems as well, so that they can give them the necessary targets that they need to monitor and keep a track of.
And do you believe that the order book is going to further swell because of the emergency procurement that's happening, and you also have 2025 earmarked as the year of reforms by the Ministry of Defense, right?
See, from the point of view of intent, the EP6, the cycle that is currently on, where they've allocated close to 45,000 crores, of which 9,000 crores is with the army, of which a good part is going to go towards drones and counter drones. So, and there are categories that we build products for, some categories that we've been building products for as a legacy, and some categories where some of the new products that we are building are also effective and useful. So there is opportunity that we are driving towards. Outcome is something that we will report once we get there.
Got it. I've been a journalist for close to 18 years now, and I've seen different waves of defense tech companies, entrepreneurship over the last almost 2 decades. One thing that has remained consistent is a pain point in some sense, that the procurement cycles are long in defense. There's this L1 mentality that the lowest bidder possible, the bidder who has quoted the lowest gets the deal. There have been a lot of fly-by-night operators as well. Have these things changed foundationally in the way the ministry or the different forces procure? It remains the same?
It does. It does remain the same. And I think the Achilles heel of India moving towards a product nation is perhaps one of the issues that we do not have a method that allows our forces and government to buy innovation, because necessarily we have systems designed to buy only what is available from multiple people. By the time something is available to multiple people, it's already old in terms of technology, because the people who were in the innovation cycle have to let go of their patents for it to become something that is available everywhere widely. So I think it's at a dichotomy, and as a country we'll have to solve for it, that how do we set up systems and processes that allow us to buy innovation. And in many cases government is a very big driver of demand. In case of drones or similar vectors, it's almost a monopsony. So there aren't like too many other people who are going to buy the tech. So there has to be a way in which we are able to buy innovation along with the balance need for buying what is available as a commodity. So I think that thing has to bridge at some point in time. We have to have a new way thinking about it that can allow this to happen at scale. Because again, if it happens in a very piecemeal way, we can all be happy, but it doesn't get you anywhere as a country. It doesn't get you to leadership position, which globally creates a name and fame for the country, right?
Correct.
It will only happen when we have that scale coming in for such innovation. Yes, there are certain structural challenges with our system where they appreciate, something coming from the West sometimes more than they appreciate what's homegrown and still working.
Do you have any model in mind, because you also sit on several government instituted panels, right?
No, I think absolutely the clear approaches around many of these things can be to sort of say, to first of all think about the fact that at least in defense, what's going to win us a war is strategic superiority and not just strategic autonomy and not just parity with the adversary, right? We have to have strategic superiority. Superiority necessarily means breaking new ground, creating new technology.
Correct.
And one is to demand that in what we are looking to buy. If we demand that, we obviously have to demand it within a framework, and that framework has to allow for time, first of all, if it does not exist. If it does exist, then the right approach has to be taken to drive towards acquisition that can get the people building it who are homegrown to the right kind of scale which is globally relevant, and then unleash the overall solution scape to the rest of the world. This is what happens to us. This is what people do to us. Companies and countries do to us. And we buy them without bothering about competition and many other things, at times in a G2G format. But can we do the same for domestic innovation? I think that's the clear thinking that needs to come out. And we really need to create that scaled example of buying innovation from the own country that can get the rest of the world to feel confident about what we are doing in building.
Correct.
So that's a structural issue, which as a strategy that sounds like a very good strategy because of the way we've seen our system react and think about things.
Yeah. What's your approach to internationalization and global expansion?
So I think we have a lot of cutting edge solutions that we've built here. We believe we've built a technology stack that's relevant globally. So that confidence that what we have built and the solutions that we deliver on top of that are very effective is there.
Okay.
Now what happens is that when you go to a new geography, from India, there are 3-4 things that you will have to do. First, in the defense space, in the drone space particularly, even if it's a dual use case, you will have to take permissions to export it out of the country. So that takes its own sweet time. There is a structural way of doing it. It's slightly unpredictable today, which makes it slightly more challenging than any other business. But even when you land up over there after all of this, there is that need for localization, the need for getting into the context of the user there. And that does take a little bit of iteration adjustment. But having gone through that cycle, almost close to having gone through that cycle, we believe that the advantages that you get by building in India can be leveraged globally, which is building for extreme environments, the desire to make sure that it works in topography that is usually not very hospitable, but you are still able to get the job done for the end user. So that's really useful elsewhere as well.
Got it. And right now, most of the business is India centric.
Yes.
How are you thinking about expansion in terms of a 3-year or a 5-year plan going forward?
I think we are looking at partners in the rest of the world. These partners may not just be partners to help us sell more of our product to the rest of the world, but also partners who may help us unlock the limitations that sometimes come in certain geographies due to country of origin restrictions. So you have to think of that as well while you're solving for the overall piece of the pie and figure that out. So partnerships is one way in which we will expand globally. And of course, we will create more reselling partnerships globally, and we will make sure that we are able to service the needs of our potential end customers. For that, it will take a lot of effort in doing demonstrations. Whatever the cycle is, like we'll have to go through all of that, which we are going through right now as well.
Ankit, in this section, we'd like you to demystify some trending defense terms that are super relevant for your business. So let's start with swan drones. What are these?
So essentially what happens is that there is this concept of overwhelming the adversary with enough barrage of whatever you have, so that if they have any defenses mounted for it, and if they are finite, they will exhaust and something will get through. And that's basically the concept of a swarm. Like, that's basically the reason why people think of swarming, because when you think of a barrage of something going, and if you have 1:1 mapping of people who are going to launch that barrage of attacks, it may become unviable. So you want that barrage can sort of take care of itself, that it can launch and it can sort of do a mission on its own. Like, if you give it a mission of destroying an air defense target, let's say for example, and you know that air defense will catch a few of your systems, but they will have a finite number of things to throw at you, and you design it such a way that you can launch more than what they can destroy, and something will get through and get your objective achieved. So that's typically a mission for, let's say, attack swarm.
Right.
But for a search and rescue mission, that same thing will morph in the form of making sure that every inch of an area is covered as quickly as possible, and the autonomy on the drone will detect people or whatever the signature they are looking for, and then direct maybe other assets within the same swarm, or offline assets that can go and do the necessary rescue operation or the rescue mission. So it basically means collaborative autonomy in that broad sense.
Interesting. And did we see these getting deployed during Sindoor?
I'm not sure if it was deployed during Sindoor. We do see from the other side a wave of such systems being launched at us now, whether they were swarm or they were piecemeal interjections that were deployed at scale. I'm not fully aware of what that was, but and I'm also not fully aware if India launched a similar formation or not.
Right.
But whether they have the capability or not, I think at least the Indian side has bought something of that capability in the past.
Understood. Buzzword number 2, resilience capabilities.
Yeah, so what happens in all modern wars where drones are being used, one of the things to prevent a drone from attacking is to look at the typical vulnerabilities of that asset. So if you jam its communication, it will lose its ability to communicate with its ground control, and therefore if any action has to be taken, you may render it useless from an action point of view, if there was any live action to be taken. So the only thing that survives is the autonomy in that one sense. Now autonomy itself depends, or the position of the drone depends on GPS signals in most cases, at least conventionally it used to. So if there is no GPS signal, then you are again handicapped. So jamming GPS is also more efficient because it's a very low power signal that can jam. So therefore jamming or spoofing GPS signals has become a vector. Now if your adversary is going to deploy electronic warfare countermeasures on the drones to keep the drones from being ineffective, you have to build capabilities to resist such jamming and such spoofing environments. And therefore resilience against jamming and spoofing is a very critical vector that has become a big reality of war. In fact, a lot of FPV drones that have become popular in Ukraine, Russia have become popular because they don't depend on GPS signals, because they depend on the human flying the drone using goggles and stuff like that. And then the communication system is such that it is a broadcast type analog communication, so it becomes easy. If they are able to jam that also, then people are using fiber optic cables which run into kilometers to try and deploy that asset. Having said that, you still need a surveillance drone or a surveillance asset to give you the targets, because many of these drones which are operating manually like hobby flying are not meant for very long flight time missions or long range missions. So you have to have that calibrated view of having high quality assets that can do the targeting and then target acquisition, and then you have drones that can go and attack the target. So resilience can show up, and defense to resilience can show up in many ways. You can go back to, let's say, hobby flying as is one of the cases where the burden of training and that you can say the big deficit will be that you will have to train too many people to that level of proficiency, which is very hard.
Right.
On the other hand, full autonomy will need that kind of resilience for it to be surviving in that environment. So you need both.
Got it. So resilience capabilities and AI-powered autonomy in some sense do go hand in hand, right?
They do, because in some cases, if you have to do GPS denied navigation or GPS denied work, then you need to have certain capabilities. Those capabilities may sometimes originate from having elements of artificial intelligence embedded into their overall approach to accelerate that process, to make it computationally more efficient, etc. So there is one part of that, and then of course in general artificial intelligence is an important vector because it drives the user to get the outcome they want,
right,
rather than merely look at the data. So one is to observe the data and take a manual action, one is to have assistive AI that can highlight portions of the video that you might skip due to your focus on one part of the video, and because the AI is running on the entire frame, it can highlight things that you missed out. On top of that, if there are certain clean use cases where you don't need intervention from an operator, then you could run in agentic system where the system does a detection and triggers an action autonomously, and the human doesn't need to be in the loop. Now, whether for for a real kinetic end effect, is that something that is acceptable globally, is the debates that everyone's having, and
correct,
you'll see flavors of it having been deployed, but you largely see that everyone's calibrating to what's going to be the future.
Human in the loop approach will continue for the foreseeable future.
At least for the foreseeable future, it seems like so, but it's also very clear that people will experiment with trying to get the human out of the loop. So there will be missions which are not as low risk, as high accountability missions as targeting life on the other side, which may sort of get to autonomy earlier than many other missions which involve targeting people on the other side or something like that.
Correct. Shifting gears here and talking about the people side of things, how do you compete for talent, especially in places like Mumbai, Bangalore, where demand for tech talent, demand for people who have fundamental understanding of R&D, deep technologies is very high. So in such kind of a landscape, what is your USP when you try and poach talent from the market?
See, I think IP-led businesses who have built core IP, deep tech IP in the country are still not so prevalent. It is not like doing this level of fundamental development is available everywhere.
Right.
And if it is typically available in a very small sliver of a space, which is sort of maybe work that is happening in a GCC or something like that, where it's a sliver of a space that you get exposed to. But in a business like ours, the exposure is very high. The ability to influence a wider spectrum of technology is much higher, and the agency to do and deliver outcomes is very, very high. So everyone talent who's hungry for doing more, we become a great place for them to come to. For us, it is very critical to find people who have the ability to peel the layers. We do not it's very tough to work with talent that cannot peel layers, because deep tech is all about finding a new breakthrough.
Correct.
And it won't happen unless you know how to peel layers and go deep in technology stacks.
Interesting. I also read on your website that you have a program which is called something on the lines of Remote Drone Pilot Certification System.
Right.
Tell us a little more about that. Is that emerging as a viable career option for young professionals?
In terms of operating drones, yes, because there are many use cases and regulations themselves warrant that there needs to be an operator in command.
Right.
And if an operator is in command, then they need to know what are the rules of engagement, particularly rules of engagement in the sky. So yes, it is a viable option. There are many jobs that are now available for people who are looking to sort of engage with this field, and the certification allows them to comfortably engage. Think of it like a driving license. You need the driving license.
Right.
to drive a car. Like you need a drone license to fly a civil drone. For a defense drone, that may not be the necessity.
Got it. Interesting. You've been a listed company for about 2 years now. How has life changed after that? Do you look at things like regulations, stakeholder management in a very different light now than, say, prior to 2023?
So, those things and the way they affect us don't change as such, right? Because being listed still allows or needs you to follow the same regulations.
Yeah, but now you have quarterly pressures and stuff, right?
We may have some additional sets of regulations that we need to comply to, which of course you have to take it in your stride and make sure that you're able to do them cleanly and well. In terms of quarterly pressures and what does it take to be in the market, I think it is obviously important, and even when you are unlisted, it's important for your stakeholders to know the state of the union in that one sense. And I think that's our responsibility to make sure that we are able to communicate. Whether we have to do anything for that? No, I think as a business we need to build the right business for all the stakeholders, right? But you cannot sort of react to doing something which is very short-term oriented because of this pressure. I don't think we have ever received advice to do anything of that nature.
As a defense entrepreneur, what keeps you up at night? Is there a particular area that worries you right now, either in terms of the demand or the supply or the overall business sentiment?
See, I think as a defense business, I think one of the things that you have to constantly keep thinking about is that how will you bring in predictability in the business, because that's one area that's very tough to get grips onto if your business is very defense heavy, and the vagaries of that are visible even in our sort of journey. In the short journey in the market, those variables and those vagaries can be visible.
Yeah.
So that is one area that you keep working towards. There are certain ways and strategies. You keep always thinking about, is there a better way of doing this? But there is always a strategy that you have to execute, a plan that you have to execute to sort of fix it in the long term. And I think that's what we continue to focus towards building. The other thing that you keep building is that how is the world evolving?
Yeah.
Because the defense tech, due to the live wars that are happening in the world, is evolving at a rapid pace. It is evolving at a pace which is almost unprecedented.
Yeah.
And therefore, to catch the eventualities and to build towards eventualities becomes very critical. For example, the fact that we caught the eventuality of needing resilience in the systems that will deploy in the market tomorrow, we were able to build solutions like GPS denied navigation, frequency hopping, dual frequency communication, etc. All of that you build because you are able to predict that eventually this will happen, we will have to build it, we will have to account for it, and therefore you have to start building for it today, because in technology and in deep tech, it doesn't happen overnight. You can't code your way through it overnight, right? Definitely. You have to physically build some capabilities that will take some time. So catching that wave and projecting what are the eventualities that we will have to accelerate is an area that you have to constantly keep thinking about as a business.
Absolutely. What's that one piece of advice that you would give your younger self if you were to start up again, go back to the Ankit of 2007? Would you do something differently? What's that, one piece of advice?
I think one of the areas that we could sort of accelerate a lot more is to build on other people's experiences. And I'm sort of juxtaposing it versus other people's experience in terms of time they have spent in the in a domain in a real world versus their experiences, as in real incidents, real situations that they've been a part of, and how do you sort of live off that and learn off those experiences so that you can accelerate your own journey. It's very important. Experience, that long-term intuition that has been built, can sometimes be detrimental to progress as well. So I don't want to sort of put too much stress on that, but I do want to put a reasonable stress on the fact that their experiences are quite instructive and they can help you leapfrog pitfalls that otherwise you may face.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ankit, for joining in for today's podcast. It was really informative and elucidative as well. We hope that Bangalore traffic is kind to you for your next meeting and that you make it back to the airport in time. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Real pleasure.